Hey there, Yurii here, and welcome to the Community ROI podcast. Here, senior community experts tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about how a community impacts business growth. By listening to these conversations, you'll get actionable steps on how to connect community goals with business goals to skyrocket business growth while still bringing extreme value to community members. And my guest is Chris Catania, an award-winning enterprise community building expert with more than 20 years of experience, who is helping leaders design communities and digital networks that maximizes ROI, reduce costs, empower employees, engage customers, and drive success, and the author of the Community First Company book. So, welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Yurii. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, great to be here, and yeah, excited to talk community ROI. Right? We need
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
as we were just saying, we need to do it. Right? The battle's not done.
We need to talk more. Exactly. So,
The
tell me
journey.
what
Yeah,
what is your definition of a community goal?
yeah. Community goals really are goals that help achieve broader business goals. Any community goal that you have shouldn't just be standalone. It should be connected to another business goal, whether that's reducing costs, increasing growth, ROI, increasing, product innovation, things like that. You have to connect the community goals to those broader business goals, or they're just kind of numbers, KPIs that are kind of floating out there. They have to mean something to other parts of the business, or even better, a core part of the business.
And I feel like you've been definitely for a long time in the industry. So we definitely know that community goals have to be connected with business goals. But when was this moment that you understood this?
Yeah, I had a series of really good kind of aha moments. I was I was not having as much success as I wanted to earlier in my career. So I'd say about 10 or 15 years ago, I had a mentor who understood what I was doing, and then he helped me understand how to talk the language of the business and the importance of that. So I became a student of business and understanding everything from what is change management, what is growth, what is just any part of the business that I could get my hands on, leadership, tactics, all that kind of stuff. Because I saw that if I learned those languages, and I learned what success means to those parts of the business, then I could attach community, and the power of community and digital networks to those goals, and then the leaders would go, oh, okay, cool, I have these goals, and then that's what happens. Because up until then, I was just not really, um it wasn't landing right. It wasn't getting those goals. I wasn't getting funding. I wasn't getting that long-term buy-in. But I just, over a series of understanding what what was important to the other parts of the business, and then from then I got I added an MBA to my credentials, and was able to put a broader global business concept, perspective, lens on that, so that further enhanced it. So I could just really engage with leadership, and any part of leadership, whether it's a sales leader, product leader, development, whatever it is, whatever part of the business, go in there and talk their language, and then talk community, which I think is what we need to do, anyways. Lead with business, then community, essentially.
What is one goal of the communities that you are working with at the moment or worked before that inspires you the most?
Yeah, I think anything that is really top of mind, because what I've found is that you have to pay attention to the overall business cycle that's going on, like in the economy or within that particular company, because things change. Sometimes, there's more importance on cost savings, and sometimes there's more importance on growth. Any business is going to want to make money and save money, obviously, right? I mean, you don't have a business if you don't do those things, don't do those things well. But certain types of the economic cycles, like as we go through recessions or growth periods and things like that, and different companies are impacted by different things. So for me, I always pays close attention to those, and that helps me understand, okay, I'm going to always build models. Like, for example, I built an ROI model that help determine how much a community was saving money. Because I knew there was going to be a point where I was going to be asked that. I was never really asked to do that, but being a good, knowledgeable, you know, forward thinking, I guess, community manager, I was like, this is going to happen. So, and it did. And I'm glad I had that set up. So I have a model to show, hey, this is, if we bring customers together and we help them solve their problems, self-service, it aligns really well with like, support, right? So support's a really easy, uh, air quotes here, easy one to measure because of call deflection and it's easier than other ones. So you can kind of get a quick win with that. So I built models that show how much a community can deflect and reduce support costs. And then also building community models to show growth. So when you build community, how much does that help increase, software renewals, increase, the ability for companies to scale and expand their products within their own customer base and increase customer advocacy, longevity. So those are all the things that I do now and have been doing for a while, and that's been very, very helpful.
Give me one example of how exactly community can help save the money for the company.
How what can save?
How exactly community can save money for the company?
Oh yeah, so yeah, picking an easy one again is looking at support, right? So there's a cost associated with when a customer calls in to get help, right, with a technical product or creating content, to help customer self-service. So if you build a community, bring all your customers together, encourage them to help each other, talk to each other, solve each other's problems, that has been shown to reduce the likelihood of them actually calling support because there's a dollar value associated with that. So that's going to save money. And in working with support teams, looking at what's out in the industry, models, I worked to create a model that said, okay, if we build community and then we encourage customers to come together, then we can actually say, okay, we're saving X, Y. Sometimes it can be in the millions. Depends on how much the cost is per call. But that's something that I've been able to do for that. So that's what I call a support use case. So that's kind of a bread and butter. It's a kind of a low hanging fruit to measure that. Especially for like startups or enterprise B2B companies, you're going to have some kind of tech support element, and reducing the amount that customers actually call in or have to interact with your staff where it impacts cost. Using the community to deflect those costs, like that is usually a good way to show, hey, the community can lower those costs. And
Yeah.
in this economic cycle that we're in, cost savings. We're in a cost savings type
Yeah.
of mentality right now, where a few years ago it was more growth, and so that's an example of now where if you can focus on cost savings and build that up, then that's something you can take to executives. And I've done that, where in the last few years I was able to show, hey, we're saving XYZ amount of money. And it really resonated with that leadership because of the economic cycle being impacted. And I've always been able to show that, but it just didn't necessarily resonate because we weren't in that, like, oh, we have to save money because the economy is changing.
Mhm.
Then the other ROI or example is to be able to show growth, which flipping over to a different part of the company, which is sales, business development, right? They're about growth, they're about expansion, they're about retaining customers, expanding product usage, and most likely sometimes customer success. So if you can show same thing, bring customers together and exposing them to other products and showing them how they can expand, and then putting certain things in the community, like an ease ability to purchase other products, or if you have a digital store, you can connect it to of course, you need to do this in a non-obtrusive way. It has to add value for the customer, and it can't be, heavy-handed. It has to be done strategically. You have to go to your digital teams, your sales teams, and have conversations about that. Because the sales team, they'll want to directly sell sometimes into the community, and you don't want to do that. So if you could set up models, get your community data, and as best you can, I know this is hard for, it's been hard for me throughout my career, but be able to connect community data to business data. Not an easy thing to do, but it's worth being able to do that, connecting community data to like your CRM. I think I saw like the last research. I've been tracking this too because it's amazing to me that a lot of communities don't have they're either not doing it or they haven't done it at all. But I think I saw there was a research about 24% of community companies who have communities don't have or only 24% have connected their community to their CRM.
Yeah.
So from a sales perspective, the more that you can bring your community, profiles, data, all that kind of stuff to the actual system that your sales team uses, make it easy for them.
Yeah.
And then, not necessarily encourage them, hey, you have to get in the community and comment because most times than not, you don't want your sales team commenting, and that's a different kind of a different thing for other parts of the company to do, but encourage them to do that and to show if we integrate community through making it easy to join trials from the community, making it easy to purchase other products, integrate that in an added value way, then that gets the attention, and then you basically set yourself up for being able to show growth and impact from a sales perspective, and then you begin to do that, do that hard work to connect all those dots from community platform to the actual, did the community, is someone more likely to join a trial if they're a member of the community?
Yeah.
And then build all that up. So I think that's a whole other podcast, Yuri, of figuring,
Exactly. We can
of
talk about
talking
it
about that.
forever.
But I could go on and on because I really, man, I really do love this stuff, man. I love community. I love building, like you and I were talking about, like, that sense of belonging. I've had that throughout that's what got me into this stuff. Like I went to a concert and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I started a concert fan community, and I just went on with that. But then I was like, what about the business side?
Yeah.
And then that's the thing. But we have to be able to do that hard work, like we were talking about. So if we really want this community to take hold and really help leaders, because that's what I'm really trying to do, is just like help leaders understand the power of community and show them how to sustain and how to measure it and all that kind of stuff.
It's fun that you mentioned CRM because clients that I was working with, I'm like, hey, by the way, we need to ensure that we can track who of our customers or our potential customers are community members. And they're like, no, we can do this. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, we can't measure anything. So basically, yeah, sure, we can make like user-generated content, engagement, etc. But like, it's so hard to understand the real business impact if they are not in your CRM. And yeah, I'm totally here with you on this. And while building and reaching and connecting community goals with business goals, what teams do you work with while building a community?
Yeah, great question. I think that is so important to regularly strategically plan, how are you going to collaborate with teams outside of community? Like, it makes me anxious and also a little bit sad, when I hear community builders that don't, stay or that don't get outside of their own team. I get it. A lot of community builders are teams of one and it's hard.
Yeah,
But if you have a short amount of time, I would say at least 20-30% of your time should be getting outside and building relationships. So like, for example, when I joined the company I work for now, I wanted to one of my first things to do, I was like, how do I build relationships with the leadership of the support team, technical support. So meet with them, listen to them, find out, what's working, what's not, have a good understanding of what's important to them, what are their metrics, and then then I go to the next team, product team. I have a general understanding of that already, but I need to hear it from them, and they need to know that I care about their goals, which is always it's always kind of interesting, is when I meet with them and I ask their goals, I get this look sometimes like, why do you care about my goals, Chris? I'm like, well, this is what it's all about. It's about
yeah,
you. It's about you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it almost catches them off guard a little bit, but then they're like, okay, cool. Because I don't know, and I've been told this, that a lot of other, it's not common for other teams to go to another team and say, how can we support you?
Yeah.
Because everybody's got their own stuff that they're aiming for and they're held accountable for. So that's part of the other thing that I really love to do with community is really show how it can be a service to other parts of the business. So build those relationships and make sure that you're interacting with them in some way, at least once a quarter. It took some time, like it usually does. Relationships take time. But again, another thing that we don't usually talk about as community builders is the ability to use these skills that we already have. Like we love to connect people and bring people together. So
Yeah.
we should like transfer those to building relationships with other leaders. And granted, it is hard because you don't always have direct access to leadership. So sometimes you have to like figure out how to manage up. How do you take somebody and make them a champion, and then they go and take your message forward for you. I've
Yeah.
I've done that before. I've managed up, and I do that regularly. Sometimes you have the direct access. You have a chance to meet with somebody face to face in a boardroom or in a meeting or a Zoom call or whatever, and talk directly to them, which is fantastic. That's why you should always be ready to talk ROI at any point. If it's in an elevator, we always say elevator speech, right? But I always call it that. You might have like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's I've been I've been called in on a Friday afternoon at like 4 o'clock. Like, oh,
By the way,
so and so is wanting to know like the community like impact, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, man, am I glad that I had my quarterly numbers, I had my speech ready, and I mean, it's not like a speech, but it's like what I'm gonna say because you have to practice this stuff because it doesn't naturally come out. But in any case, like, so yeah, so support team, product team, sales team. I would focus on the key areas of the company that um, you know, are the ones that help make money, save money, and then also are easy ones for that there's a good initial synergy between like uh, a good understanding of what community is. So the marketing team, product marketing. I've worked with a lot of champions who are product marketers who get community, and you can build some really good initial use cases and success stories with them, and then that can that can do that. So right now, I in my regular work, I work with support leaders, product leaders, sales leaders, marketing leaders, because I've learned, and it's hands down very, very clear that
yeah.
you have to be in those conversations and you have to show value to them. You can't just come into them and say, "Oh, community, community, community." You have to go like, "What is what's your problem?" You go to their town halls. I attend a lot of town halls of other
Yeah.
teams. I take notes, I understand, and then I start to go, okay, we could do this, and I send a note to them and say, "Oh, I saw this in your town hall, or I heard you talk about this. I think we can help you." So I just want them to go community as a service. Like community can help me lower my costs. Community can
Yeah.
help expand products. It's like you need to get in their head, and then that's the beginning of the ROI question, is
So
listening.
you already told that a community helps support to answer questions. Then that community can help sales team to drive new subscriptions, etc., and like growth. But how does community help marketing and product team?
Yeah, marketing and product. So from a product perspective, innovation, setting up opportunities in the community. Sometimes they're called idea exchanges, where customers can go in and submit ideas. And that's an amazing opportunity. I'm really surprised at how little that is actually done in within companies who actually have communities. They don't necessarily invest in idea exchanges. For whatever reason, I've seen that they don't want to do it because they're maybe don't have the infrastructure, which I get that. But setting up ideas exchanges, giving your customers, especially if you're early in your journey as a company, you want to build that trust. So allowing customers to submit ideas and say, "Hey, I wish this was in the product," and
Hmm.
then that comes across when you open up that opportunity in the community for that exchange. That lets the customer know that you're listening to them. And also it has this amazing ability to build trust. And the CX world calls the voice of the customer, which
Hmm.
is something else we community industry is getting really new to customer experience, or they call it CX.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of CX. We could talk about that too a little bit later if you want to, but that's another area of the company that I work closely with. But product innovation, set up idea exchanges, sell the opportunity for your product teams to get ideas directly from from the customers, because your product, the product teams are probably getting ideas, they're getting feedback from other parts of through probably coming through technical support, they're coming through conversations with sales teams. But community is this unique opportunity where it can come right from directly from the customer, and at scale. And you can see that a little bit more pure, and you can get a sense of like, does the broader customer base believe that this is important or want to see this. So idea exchanges, get your product teams to be comfortable with opening up innovation opportunities, innovate the product. From a marketing perspective, there's a really exciting opportunity with the um, brand. So if you bring your customers together, they get excited about the particular products, or in some cases, the companies that I've seen that the brand itself is so unique, and that customer is very passionate about using that product in their career. And if they associate, hey, this particular company really embodies everything that it means to do that role, whether that's, I don't know, pick something of any company, like the company that I work for now is Esri, and the GIS professional.
Hmm.
They're super passionate about using the Esri products, to solve these massive like world problems, that are going on, and to have them get excited about that. They can create content. They can create examples that are directly from them about how they've had success with the product, and success in their own work, and in their own words as well.
Hmm.
So you have the opportunity to create use cases, success stories that you can that you can do. Because I know it takes time, it takes money. There's a cost associated with an organization creating their own content, their own success stories, but users can help create that content for you in that way. And on the other side, or not on the other side, but additionally, advocacy, being
Yeah.
able to have the customers advocate to other customers on your behalf about why they love your product. They can do that within the community, which helps to kind of create this, this small flame fire, and then it kind of goes from there, where there's a broader sense of doing that outside of the community, so creating content. And then the other piece is recently, because when I started doing this all this community stuff, there was not a high Google search ranking necessarily
Hmm.
for forums and online communities. But recently, Google, has changed that. But even before that, there's an immense value in creating online community at scale, because it helps reduce, SEO costs, or helps reduce the need for advertising in that way. But now, even more so, Google has changed a lot of what they do for search ranking. So if you have an online community, when someone goes to search for words associated with your product or with your company, if you have an online community, the search rankings are going to be, higher with that. Um, and I think those are, and yeah, brand communities can really give you ideas, give you feedback. Um, you can use your community for product feedback,
Yeah.
instead of putting together like costly, uh, what do they call those? Interview, customer, market research. It's escaping me what they're called, but when you bring customers together and you ask them a series of questions and all that kind of stuff.
Like focus groups.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I was like, what is that called? But your community is this organic, ongoing focus group. It's
Yeah.
organic survey full of so much data. I mean, I'm floored sometimes by how much companies don't take advantage of that. And even when they do have a community, they're not always tapping in and extracting those insights from a marketing standpoint and learning from that. Thankfully, with like AI and with a lot of the tools now that they're getting better, and our platforms that we use, platforms to build the communities are getting better at extracting that. The marketing teams can really get a good idea of that, and they can, that's a cost savings piece. The
Yeah.
other thing that I've seen from marketing teams too is that when you create a community, you can actually build in opt-in messages, and you can directly communicate with them at pretty much no cost. When you do a campaign, marketing teams, they spend money on ads, on email campaigns to get a certain lead to funnel into the sales team. So building a community, I've seen communities reduce the amount of money it costs for acquisition.
Yeah.
So it can reduce acquisition costs, and it can really help build a better funnel for MQLs, SQLs. Hopefully that's not too much marketing jargon, but what that means is marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead. So those are, again, those are the languages of these other parts of the business, which,
Yeah.
again, if you're a community builder listening to this, those are important. But acquisition, and you can reduce costs for acquisition with that. So I think that's good for now.
Those are a lot of
Yeah.
benefits that the community really brings. And how do you
Yeah.
bring visibility to the overall community impact on business internally? How do you talk to other teams and management so they know what community have done for them?
Storytelling. Like, you have to get good at storytelling. The way that I talk about it is that there's two sides of the storytelling. There's hard metrics, and then there's soft metrics. Hard metrics are the numbers. Hey, we saved $1.5 million
Yeah.
this quarter. Wow, that's amazing. Because that's going to resonate with your CFO. That's going to resonate with a different person. But then you need to also share, hey, Samantha from XYZ company came into the community. She didn't feel a sense of belonging as a professional, and she had some problems with the product initially. But hey, after 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, or whatever, she felt more connected. And we reached out to her. We got a story. We put together, a 5-minute video of her talking about this. And that's the content piece, extracting those stories and sharing those. Because if you don't put, and telling that kind of story is going to help go, oh wow, okay, so that you're gonna appeal to the heart of leadership. Not necessarily just the mind necessarily is associated with numbers and all these different things essentially. But storytelling helps people understand, and you have to do that consistently. You can't just do it one time, like once a year. I recommend quarterly. Understand how your company tells uh, progress. Usually that's a quarter. Usually there's meetings among different teams. Again, when you listen, those are the things you need to listen for. Like, when do other people report success? Well, that's when you should be reporting community success with that. But you have to storytell. You have to show. You have to be good at. Do you know you heard of the hero's journey?
Yeah.
The story concept. Like, we watch lots of movies, and this is why I love movies, because I watch a movie and then I go, okay, how can I use that story arc
Yeah.
in tell the
In the
community story?
community. Hmm.
And I do it all the time. But again, I had to learn that. I was like, okay, how do I do that? How do I take my passion for like loving movies? Like, I sit in the theater and I watch this thing go. I'm like, how do I show this community member just came into the community and then uh, you know had this transformation over a period of time. And what is really powerful is when you take hard metrics and soft metrics and you put those together. And what I mean by that is that if you go, oh, hey, Samantha is part of our top tier customers, and they're part of an important group of our, you know, 80/20, 20%,
Yeah.
the 80/20 rule, the whole thing, how, 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. So you do have certain customers that are more strategic or important in some cases. So if you show Samantha came from a brand new customer who was really important, and she went through this trajectory, she got value and she had transformation, and you show, oh, well, this is, that helped to increase growth, or it's associated with some of the, the cost savings in that aspect, then that's where you get that buy-in, because uh, you have to have storytelling, and that's essentially, I talk a lot about it in my, I have a book coming out, and it's one of the main things in there is I talk about this 3E system. It's evaluation or experience, enablement, and evaluation. Those three things together create shared value. So the storytelling piece that you ask about, like how do you do that? Like you have to get good at storytelling. You have
Yeah.
to prioritize that. That's that evaluation piece. Super important. Good question.
So, it's interesting because from my own perspective, I always love delivering this good stories, how people happy, how people use a product and how we save money or how we bring money. But community is not always a bright side. There is also a dark side. So how do you talk about the challenges you face? How do you deliver difficult news?
Yeah, I think it's part of a community. I always say that, we're engaging in a conversation with community, and that's just who we are as human beings. And you can't have a business without human beings. And I think that any problems that are out there, they're an opportunity. Like I've seen customers come into the community. Some cases kind of use the community like this one example was where the customer kind of weaponized the community. They weren't getting what they wanted from the uh, the business side. So they went to the community and said, "Oh, this, and this." And I looked at it and I go, "Oh, that's not right." So we talked as a community team. I got together with our moderation team and was like, "Well, this is what we're going to do." We got together with a sales account leader. We got together with the product team, and we actually met with that customer at a live event that was coming up. And we were able to take that situation and turn it into an opportunity to educate the customer about the community, that yeah, we actually were listening. There was some miscommunication going on a little bit about that, but it was an opportunity, and we were able to successfully turn that customer into a champion. And he's now really active in our community. But it was a little sketchy at first, because I was like, oh no, this is one. It was an inappropriate post because it did violate our confidentiality guidelines, and it wasn't complete. But that customer was frustrated, and when you're frustrated, you get emotional. You get emotional, you do some things that you probably shouldn't do, or you might regret. But we're able to pull all this together. Again, I had already had relationship with that account manager,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, and we had already been educating our staff, educating staff on how to um, use the community, and we were able to guide, and the account teams were kind of looking to me, looking to us to figure out how to navigate that. But that just happens, and I mean, you know we're in an area, but the rewards far outweigh the risks. And I think customers understand that. They see that. But as leaders, you can't expect things to be, rainbows and sunshine like all the time, because
Yeah, yeah.
the product's not perfect, right? I mean, I know we all may think
People
it,
are not
you know,
perfect,
and
like
people aren't, right? And you want that, right? I mean, anytime where I've gotten better as a person or as a professional, like, is when I, messed up, or I had a little bump, and I was like, I got feedback, and
yeah.
I got better from it. So I just see it the same way. I think there's this unique opportunity. Community is very unique in that it gives us chance for customers, or for companies to engage customers in a unique way. And the cool thing about it, if it's an appropriate and you can do it, if a company can respond publicly in a way
Hmm.
that really comes across, like you can, and the other thing too is, like, I've seen crises averted because there's a community,
Yeah.
and things can blow up, beyond that. But if are open to it and you're honest, and there's transparency, and leadership is on board with all that stuff, then there's an immense reward that's there. But
Yeah.
few and far
Yeah.
between. It's unfortunate sometimes leaders and companies they let that fear hold them back from ever starting. And I'm just like, well, man, don't let it stop you from doing it, because there's far more rewards with community than risk.
There is one thing that I heard of one of the clients, even more clients, that I don't really want people to write bad comments in the community, and I'm like, yeah, but if they write bad comments and you work with it and everyone sees it and you make this person happy, and even like the worst case scenario that you are really fucked up, that you say, yes, I'm fucked up, but we can make things better. Let's do it together. So
Hmm.
it adds to your brand. It's not against you. People will see that there is a real human behind, because if people have bad thoughts about you and you just muting them, if you deleting those negative feedback in the community, people won't like you. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of people are not stupid, you know.
Yeah,
People are very smart, and we're human beings. We can sniff, false intentions, of doing that. So expect some negativity, but don't just see it as an end. It's an opportunity,
yeah,
like you said, to show trust, to build relationship. And I've seen it happen. Like I've seen somebody go from being really upset to being a champion, and it was because that particular company was open to that conversation, and they're community first, they're customer centric,
yeah,
and that means like taking all aspects of the human experience like in mind, and not coming across as this like monolithic company that's not human. So customers appreciate that too. I've seen that come across as like, yeah, I get it. Wow, this is great. The product team is actually listening to me.
yeah.
This is fantastic. And then they see your product, they see the enhancement come through in the next release, or the next product unveiling. They're like, wow. So you like you just said, you're developing that trust. You're developing that sense of, like we're saying, we're trying to build community belonging with that, right? So it's good.
Chris, I wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is a limit to our conversation. So tell me, what is one small step to take right away for someone who is struggling with identifying their community ROI?
Yeah, I would look at, what is your from a leadership perspective, or from a community builder perspective, depends who you're talking to on that one, but um, looking across the business and going and having a conversation, and paying attention. Like I said, if you're working for a company and you can see and you have an opportunity to attend another town hall, or if you have an opportunity to read some information about what their metrics are, what the success metrics are, then that's great. But set up a meeting, set a goal for yourself to have a conversation and say, how can we help you as a community builder? And then I would say begin to, pick one area of the company and pick one part of ROI, and start to learn about it. Like read up on how can you learn, you know, what is cost savings? What does that mean? Um, and then learn from others, learn from other people who have done it. Reach out, and, ask questions. Just be curious, as you move along.
And I'm curious. So, name two people who I should reach out to and talk about community ROI.
Oh man, yeah, I saw that question on there. I was like, who?
Who to
Well, I
choose?
think, yeah, it's man, it is first one is Bill Johnston. He's been really influential in a lot of my work, and he's been doing a lot of great work for many years in connecting the community to the business value. And then the second person would be Tiffany Oda. She's been really good at looking across the entire business, and put out a lot of great content about reaching out to sales teams, and the operational kind of the long view, which includes how do you show value to that. So yeah, so Bill and Tiffany would be on my list.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. And what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, best way is you can go to my LinkedIn, uh, look me up, Chris Catania. You can also go to chriscatania.co. That's my website. And then also, like I said, we have a I'm putting out a book that talks about all the stuff. It's really designed to help leaders, community curious leaders, get more value out of the community, and be able to show how it attaches to business goals and sustain it. So it's called Community First Company, and you can text community first to 33777, and then that is where you'll be able to get more information. You can get on email list for that. The book's due out in the spring, fall or winter spring of
Yay.
2025. So
Excited to read it myself. So when it's out, like I'll be
cool. Thank
there.
you.
I'll be definitely there. And yeah, Chris, thank you so much for this extremely valuable conversation and sharing your amazing experience so openly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great conversation.
Thank you very much and see you in the community world. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.